Out of Bounds is the name of the show. It's BoBounds.com, BoBounds.com, ESPN 105.9. Bo, I hope you're having a great afternoon. Welcome back to T-Town, man.
I am. How you been, buddy?
Good, man. Just, counting down the days. Just trying to get through. I mean, Bo, we took one on the chin out in Santa Clara, man. I mean, 28 points. You don't just get up off the mat off one of those beatdowns.
No, I would have lost an enormous amount of money. I never thought I would see a Nick Saban Alabama team get beat like that, right? And then, Clemson took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
I mean,
don't
I never
remind us of that, Bo.
thought.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, that stings, man.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I mean, 28 points. I mean, oh Lord, what would it have been? 35, 42. Oh Lord.
Oh, yeah. And I think Clemson, they're now here to stay with Bama. I wasn't convinced that they were that anybody else was capable of staying in the race with Bama. And I think Clemson's here to stay, right? I mean, this is a Clemson-Bama. I fully expect them to play in the national title game or the semifinal game, depending on the seeding.
Bo, how much of a benefit is it for Clemson, or is it a benefit? I mean, I don't want to push you in one direction or the other when you play in the ACC against that schedule compared to what you do here in the SEC.
Well, it's interesting you say that because it's weird. Clemson plays closer games during the regular season, even though they play in a inferior conference, and so they played. You know this, Ron. I mean, they've almost lost to NC State. They've lost to Syracuse, who would be considered Vanderbilt in the SEC, and yet there's something about kind of what they're doing in the postseason 2 of the last 3 years. So, and yet Bama doesn't play. Bama's in a tougher conference and a tougher division, and they didn't have any close games last year. And I think there's something to that, Ron. I do. And I don't think anybody's going to give Bama a run for their money except one game. And they're not near the team, but it'll be their one game of the year where I get the feeling they'll play really, really well and hard and all that stuff. And that's at A&M. That's the only challenge that I see for Bama. So I think they're going to walk back into the SEC championship game having really not been challenged the whole year. And Georgia should be there. And I think Georgia's going to take a step back. So Bama may, instead of that being close like it was in the title game and the SEC championship game, if Bama plays to their, capability, they should handle that, and then we'll see how it rolls in the college football playoff. Oklahoma could be a factor because they're going to be better on defense, but it's a great question. Clemson is challenged more in the regular season than Bama, yet they don't play in near as good a conference.
Let me go back to Georgia here for a couple of minutes. How much does it really affect their psyche when you get Alabama against the ropes? I mean, you don't get these wins against Nick Saban. I mean, you know this. You see this in this division of the SEC. When you look at Kirby Smart, you got to know that in the middle of the night, he's got to wake up 3:30 in the morning going, I let this guy up. Twice he had him against the ropes and couldn't finish it.
You mean Mr. Fake Punt on 4th and 11?
Yeah, but listen, Bo. When you fake a field goal and you have your kicker as your lead blocker, you don't smack talk with fake special teams plays because we sorry, like those are off limits, Bo. I mean, when you design a play like Nick Saban designed, I mean, he had to sign off of it. You can blame the special teams coach, but when you have a lead blocker and Clemson's in a safe and you don't check out of it,
yeah, that
sorry,
seems desperate, just like Kirby.
Right.
Look, I don't think Kirby's going to have top 3 to 5 talent, so he's going to be in the game. And as long as the East is down, although I think Mullen will close the gap eventually, I don't think Jeremy Pruitt will. But, I mean, he'll close the gap just because Tennessee can't be any worse. And the way they recruit, obviously they should be minimum 8-4. but they're not going to be a 10-2, 11-1 ish type program. But as long as Kirby's over there, I think life's going to be good. But I don't think Kirby is. I think Kirby did the Saban this year. He promoted 2 coordinators from within, and that have no business being coordinators at that level if you want to win a national title. Remember what Dave Bartu said last summer, Ron? I mean, he called it. He said Saban has his worst. He hired the worst duo, tandem pair of coordinators that he has had since being at Alabama in Dayball and McCoy, and it caught up with him. I mean, they were shell-shocked, as you know. You were there, but I'm sure you watched eventually, what Saban said at halftime. Basically, we don't know what to do. Saban's never said that in his life. So Georgia did the same thing, promoting from within. And I can tell you this, Ron, that's going to come back and haunt and bite Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs in the bottom, because you can't do that. It's just because you're not going to play your A game. You're not even going to come close to playing your A game every Saturday. Even Bama doesn't, even though they steamroll people. Most of the time, what do you say, Ron? 10 out of 12 games, you're going to bring your B game if you're really good. And then you're going to have 2 A games during the regular season. And then if you play in championship games like Bama and Georgia, you want to bring it in. And then you get another 4 weeks off for 18 to 23-year-olds, because there's no way to play at optimal level each and every Saturday, regardless of what Saban, Dabo, or Kirby say, or Lincoln Riley. And then you come back and you do the, college football playoff. So I think Georgia's in a world of hurt, because he promoted, he went the safe route, and you can't do that. And that's why I think Saban is in a much better spot. Even though he promoted Pete Golding's going to be a rock star. And I don't say that about everybody. And obviously Sarkisian's going to be just good enough. I mean, he'll be much better than Dayball. I'm not saying Sarkisian is an A offensive coordinator by any stretch, but Pete Golding, rock star. That guy is going to be, like Kirby was as a DC, or Pruitt was as a DC, and maybe missing one other one. But he's going to be fantastic, and that's going to be good for Bama, because as Bama preps for Clemson, whenever that's going to happen, they're going to need every bit of Pete Golding's magic to score 1 more point or 7 more points or whatever it is.
Well, and you got to be able to put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he had no quarterback hurries in the game out in Santa Clara, no sacks. Yeah. He was pretty much eating a lunch back there. No pressure.
Yeah, and, Pete Golding, look, how there's small colleges around the country that are little football factories,
sure,
that are on a different level than like Bama,
right?
And Clemson's just become a football factory, but like Bama and Ohio State, all right, for an example, Ron. So you know all about there's certain junior colleges and small colleges that are just blue bloods and monsters and do it right, like Bama. Well, there's one in the state of Mississippi called Delta State. And guess who coached there? Dave Aranda and Pete Gold. Yeah. And it's just one of those coaching football factories where you got to be tough, and you got to learn culture, and you got to understand how to develop kids, and you have to understand how to scheme at the very, you don't have all the resources and da-da-da-da-da. But Delta State's a monster, Ron, all across the board, actually, in sports. It's just something up there in the water in the Mississippi Delta. Maybe it was from B.B. King or Robert Johnson. But the point is, Pete Golding was a phenomenal football player at Delta State. Super, super smart, heady, kind of like Kirby. Played in the secondary, started at safety, was always at the right place at the right time. And that's what Bama has in Pete Golding. He could be the difference over that 3.5-hour period against Bama in the SEC championship game and Clemson in the whichever playoff game they pull.
Well, and Bo, I don't know I know you feature Chris Lowe when you can, ESPN college football analyst. He wrote an article that we found about 2 months ago who talked about Tosh LaPoy losing his play calling responsibility. That was not a story that was broke during the season. It broke in kind of the off season. Some of that kind of slid on the radar.
Right.
Pete Golding had to step into the fire, and you kind of hope the preparation side of it, maybe things change, because Alabama's defense was not that standard that we've come to expect under Nick Saban.
No, and I don't know if you watched it, Ron, because you were probably there on the sideline for the Alabama spring game. But did you hear what Todd Blackledge said about what Pete Golding told him about Clemson, and how Clemson prepped for Bama, and what Brent Venables did to get ready for Tua, and all that offensive firepower and personnel, and how he felt like maybe in the first time in what, Ron, 15 plus years since the spread and then the RPOs have been rolled out in college football, that the defense is catching up with the RPO game. And I thought that was interesting because I don't give a you-know-what about spring games. But the reason why I went back and watched some of the Bama spring game is to hear Todd Blackledge's color commentary as a color analyst. And that's fascinating to me, how much time Clemson spent on Bama and very little on Notre Dame. And to me, the chess match this year, if we get it again, between Pete Golding and Tony Elliott and Dabo and Jeff Scott on Clemson's offensive side of football, and then the obviously the chess match between Sarkisian and Venables could be one of the epic kind of coaching, X's and O's, scheming game plans that we've had in a long, long time, Ron.
In your opinion, because you were talking about the offense and the direction, can Gus get out of 2019? I mean, can he make it to December?
Probably not, because Gus is his own worst enemy. So he should be able to with the personnel that they have. But because don't get me wrong, Auburn's got players. But Gus, although he's better than Orgeron, is a lot like Orgeron. He just gets in his way, in his own way, on a weekly basis. And so they're going to have to find this quarterback recipe, and they're going to have to find it fast because they have a brutal. Bama has. Hey, give them credit. Smart scheduling. They scheduled Duke, and I hate it because I'd like to see Bama play.
Sure, yeah.
Oklahoma, or I don't know who could really. I'd love to see him play Jalen or Ohio State in the regular. Although Ohio State made it what looks like could be a bad hire, but so Bama's got Duke, and then they're literally gonna walk through the league except A&M. I think Jimbo will circle it. They'll focus on that, and they'll lose their edge in a couple of games probably before and after that, but they'll play all day long in that game, and that actually could go into the fourth quarter, which would be great for me as somebody who loves college football. I just want to be entertained and hope that happens, because other than that, I don't know if Bama's going to be challenged. But to answer your question, I wouldn't be surprised if the crazies down in on the plains, if things get sideways, if Gus loses his gig this year, and they just fork out a bunch of money and try to find somebody else. There's plenty of talent. I'll tell you this: there's more than enough talent out there to hire when you're paying tons and tons of bucks like they are in the SEC. Ron,
Bo, final question: who in the SEC, as far as coach-wise, we've kind of thrown this around a little bit because, the Nick Saban retirement kind of gets old. And so the spin is, what coaches out there can outlast Nick Saban? When you look around the SEC, give me a couple.
Mullen,
okay,
Jimbo,
okay,
Kirby.
That's it?
Mullen, Jimbo, Kirby. Yeah, because LSU's never going to the college football playoff with Orgeron. It doesn't.
Never?
It looks like now. No. Never. They're scared to score touchdowns, and last time I checked, you need to do that to.
In the current time of football that we live in, you better be able to score points.
Well, you know that, right? You were at Santa Clara. Bama moved it between the 20s, Ron, as you know, right? It was the red zone that crushed Dayball or whatever. And you got Tua and Judy and Josh and all these crazy, just incredible skill players that are just freaky. And you get down into the red zone, you look like Well, we just threw the playbook out, and we're letting somebody on the 35-yard line call the rest of the plays. So that's it. I just described LSU's offense. Like from wherever they are on the field. So, Ogeron's not going to make it. It looks like Malzahn's with a young QB. You don't have time at the programs that want to win. So I would say Jimbo, Mullen, Kirby.
Find him on the Twitter account, Bo Bounds, BoBounds.com, Bo Bounds Out of Bounds each morning there on ESPN 105.9. What's getting you guys through your college football show? What do y'all talk about? What's the conversation? What's number one topic there?
Well, we're a little different right now. We're heavy into Ogeron's offense and talking. We can talk a few big programs: Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Mullen. But we've talked a lot of it's something y'all don't ever cover. We've talked a lot of baseball because we have a top 3 team in the state in Mississippi State, and then Ole Miss is talking. Some people.
We're so jealous. We're so jealous.
Yeah.
We're fighting to go to Hoover. Forget about anyway.
I know y'all. I know it's not a sport that y'all care about, but that's been dominating.
No. Yeah, we care about it. We're just not very good at it. Back in the 90s, this place led the NCAA in attendance. And
when Wells was there,
it's just crashed.
Y'all were rolling, man, going to the CWS and hammering people. But yeah, it's baseball mixed in with SEC football.
Okay, Bo Bounds. Hey man, hopefully we can connect down in Sandestin, man. I'd love to be able to connect with you and talk a little football, man. I know you and I share the same passion, man.
Let's do it. Let's do it, bud.
Thanks
for having me on.
Thanks, Bo. Bo Bounds.
Okay, see ya.